Very briefly, a couple of minutes talk about the merger that my company has executed a year and a half back. To start with, a few words about the history or the timeline where it all started, because mergers and acquisitions were in the DNA of our company right from the very beginning. We were the very opposite of a lifestyle business. We were created and meant to be growing by acquisitions, growing really fast to build scale. We're a public company governed by or listed at the Warsaw Stock Exchange in Poland. So the financial aspects and the KPIs, the metrics, and the numbers were at the core. And mergers and acquisitions were kind of very important to us from the very beginning. Anyways, established in 2011, actually late 2011, bought, acquired, and merged with a number of companies previously. But the one that I want to focus is Mayflower, probably a company that many of you have heard of before. We have tied knots with Mayflower in 2016. And this was a very difficult exercise for us because Mayflower is an Indian company. We're from Poland, very different cultures. Everything is just very different. So it's probably the opposite of Eugenia was talking, because it's actually the very opposite. Everything was just very different. Anyways. The size and where we are at the moment, we're around 130 employees in 3 countries, India, Poland, and Romania. Most of our employees are based out of India now, over 80 people in Bengaluru in India. And we're at some $6 million consolidated revenue last year. In any case, the challenges and the aspects that we had to face, and obviously can go on and on and on, and talk about mergers and acquisitions and details for hours and hours. But the 6 things that I wanted to focus about is that for us were crucial, where the legal systems, again, very different in India, very different in Poland or the EU. For that matter, we were, the calendar, the fiscal year was different, the accounting regulations were different, the legal system is very different. So these were really big challenges that we had to address, especially being a public company. That meant hiring expensive lawyers from both ends, operating within a field that we were really unfamiliar with. If you think of our industry, mergers and acquisitions have really picked up recently. For the couple of years, there's been a lot of activity, but I have not seen a proper merger in India before. I think Lionbridge long back acquired a company, and this is how they ended up with a huge office in India. But other than that, I have not seen a proper merger in the industry, whereas India, I think, is a huge opportunity. I was listening to Sandeep talking about the Indian market. He's estimated the value of being potentially a $4 billion industry, language industry, potentially in India. So many official languages, so much potential, and yet the industry has not really been developed in this beautiful country. So legal systems, culture, again, you can go on and on and on. I don't see any Indians here, but again, just very different. To cope with, entirely 180 degrees different approach to life, approach to how you do business, approach to your working culture, approach to everything. Very difficult to address for us. So when I look back, if it was to be an acquisition, we would have never ended up successfully. I'm so happy it's a merger, because the previous owners of Mayflower has stayed with us, is still working in the company, is a very important shareholder in our company at the moment. So if it was just an acquisition, we would have probably failed badly. Currency goes back, finances, currency, legal systems, again, being a traded company, intercompany exchanges, intercompany transactions. When you actually, go into integration, you want to centralize something, like we want to centralize a lot of our ops in India due to, obviously, the cost factors. We have to kind of transfer the money, the currency. That's something that Eugenia was also mentioning about. This was an issue. This has actually led us to a decision and a step where we hired a full-time in-house CFO and created a full-time in-house administration or finance department, where we have controlling, financial controlling, a CFO full-time. We used to outsource a lot of that previously, as probably many of you do as well. Again, a lot of issues to address. Reporting obligations, something that we, a huge headache on quarterly and annual basis, where we have to publish our financial statements to the stock exchange. We have to consolidate an Indian financial statement done and prepared according to the Indian accounting regulations. We have to convert that into the Polish regulations and publish to the stock exchange. We get a lot of questions and ambiguities and things to resolve from our investors. We have a private equity on board, a minority investor, but they're still interested in the numbers. This is what these guys mainly focus on. So again, a number of issues that we had to list out, map out, checklist, prepare before we actually went to execute the merger. Integration. At the end, it's kind of easy to buy someone out or merge with someone, and actually make it happen, make it work, leverage the synergies, and make it all work out for you guys. That's the key part. And if you think about these issues, and this is what I've been asked to talk about at the end of the day, is the TMS or the technology that is somehow present in all these issues. If you think about the operation of an LSP or of any company, it's the TMS that somehow governs everything. This is how, maybe I should have started with that. This is how we ended up using Plunet, because Mayflower was using Plunet. We had our own system. Plunet is great and all, but we had our own. And we switched to Plunet. We just thought it's much easier. It's much easier. And I'm happy we did so. In any case, a couple of things that were crucial and vital to the integration part of the merger, when you address all the issues that I was listing out before, number one was the point of contact and ownership. So that's something that I would strongly recommend. There's a slide at the end with a couple of takeaways. Point of contact or single point of contact, someone who's actually in charge of the integration, is something that was vital to me. Budget and checklist, so again, mapping everything out, preparing, checklisting, especially in India, where people tend to, okay, I don't want to go into that back. In any case, preparing the budget, listing out the costs, making sure that everything is planned out and really follow the checklist. And when I think of it, it was really, Plunet or the TMS or the technology that our company is built around that somehow governed us through the way, and it's still in the process. I mean, it's been we've signed the agreement in late 2016, and this was a minority share swap. The second step was a full merger that we have executed last year. Late last year, you could have probably read about it on Slater, and it's still in the process. We had to obtain a number of government permissions, a number of regulatory obligations that we had to meet. In any case, at the end of the day, I think that technology in Plunet was crucial to the implementation at Plunet's implementation at Summa Linguae, and the adjustments and the integration is really a crucial part of what I can now, looking back, say is a successful merger. But nevertheless, and that's something that I wanted to emphasize, is at the end of the day the people. Because you can have the most beautiful systems and the best technology out there, but for me and the people are really the most important. And for me, you know, integrating the teams, integrating the guys in Poland, Romania, and India, making sure that we really work as one company is crucial. So the two really have to go together. A couple of picks from, you know, our Indian adventures and Bucharest adventures. I would say this is crucial. A couple of takeaways. So single point of contact, I think very important to have someone who's an owner. I suggest not the owner. I was not someone in charge of that. We have actually hired someone to do the integration for us, and the person is still in the company. Very important position, costs us money, but I think that it's a proper job. It's a proper full-time job to make sure that an integration happens. Would love to hear your ideas on how you guys manage, how you guys are actually managing the integration itself. But we have a proper, you know, full-time in-house position to make sure that this is actually executed. Strategy at the very beginning and the values, something that you have also again touched upon. Crucial for me, maybe at the very beginning, before you even think of any mergers, just make sure that the values that you follow are somehow the same, because these are the things that you're not really supposed to change or, you know, adopt. This is something that you just have to believe in, and the values that we live by at Summa Linguae, we just had to make sure that these guys out there in India really believe in the same. In our case, transparency, security, and flexibility. These are, you know, the values that we really follow every day. Were very important for us. Thank you.